It's good to be with you. Thanks for joining me as we walk through our Wednesday Bible study together. Normally we would be in 1 Corinthians, and next week we will pick up with 1 Corinthians chapter 7. We're going to just keep walking through that book slowly but surely. We'll eat the elephant one bite at a time. But this week we're going to take a little bit of a break, and we're going to go over to Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 4, verses 20 through 27. I want to talk about the idea of maintaining our way. I don't know if you've ever been, maybe you're a husband like me and you get into projects and you get a little distracted and you look back and you realize you have 8 projects open because you got distracted. We all have a tendency to wander from our central focus, from our central path. And I want to address that a little bit tonight. It's nighttime, by the way, while I'm filming this, but I want to address that, and I want to talk about staying steadfast in the Christian life. This has been a theme that has popped up over and over and over in my own personal Bible study and in my own personal readings, and I just wanted to share it with you, a little bit of the overflow from that. It's been a blessing to me, and I hope it'll be a blessing to you. So Proverbs chapter 4, verses 20 through 27. My son, pay attention to my words. Listen closely to my sayings. Don't lose sight of them. Keep them within your hearts, for they are life to those who find them, and health to one's whole body. Guard your heart above all else, for it is the source of life. Don't let your mouth speak dishonestly. Don't let your lips talk deviously. Let your eyes look forward. Fix your gaze straight ahead. Carefully consider the path of your feet, and all your ways will be established. Don't turn to the right or to the left. Keep your feet away from evil. So typically, how a proverb is kind of designed to be approached is, I would give you the proverb, you would go home, you'd think over it for about 24 hours, and then we'd come back and discuss it. Now you have 2 options at this point. You can either pause the video and wait 24 hours to have the rest of the discussion, or you can be a really good American, and we can just talk about it right now. So I'm going to roll with the American version, and we're just going to talk through kind of some of the thoughts around this proverb. So the first 2 verses are very active in nature, right? And everything in this passage is active. I have to actively do this. I have to set out to do this. You don't accidentally cling to the faith. The best picture I can come up with is if you were hanging from a cliff. You don't accidentally hang on for dear life, right? Like if you fell over and your option is to let go of the cliff or fall, you don't accidentally hold on as tight as you can. You purposefully hold on as tight as you can. And that's kind of the image here, is you are purposefully doing these things. Pay attention to the words. Listen closely to the sayings. Don't lose sight of them. Keep them within your heart. You purposefully set out to do this. You will not accidentally grow as a Christian, and you won't accidentally persevere as a Christian. There's nothing accidental about the Christian faith. It is work. It is being steadfast. It is stepping into God's world and saying, I'm not letting go. I'm not letting go. And the best part is you cling to a God who clings tighter to you. And so the start of this proverb is very proactive. Cling to the faith. Cling to this wisdom I'm giving you. Hold on to the wisdom. Hold on to it. Which wisdom should be equated with the gospel. We've seen it in 1 Corinthians that the cross is the wisdom of God. And so we cling to the cross actively. We set our eyes on the cross. We don't lose sight of the cross. Verse 22 gives us the reason why, and that's, for they are life to those who find them and health to one's whole body. Now, obviously, clinging to the cross is not designed to bring you physical health, right? This isn't a health thing. What it's talking about is this idea of prospering. And when I say prospering, I'm not referring to the prosperity gospel. What I'm referring to here is this idea of we prosper because we are with God in righteousness. Adam and Eve prospered in the garden because they were with God. They did not prosper when they were separated from God. So when I use the term prosperity, I am using it not as prosperity gospel, not as a lot of those famous preachers, but what I'm using it in is the context of when I walk with God, simply being in God's blessing and God's presence is enough. That's prospering. That is amazing. And I should love that and I should seek that. So by clinging to the cross, clinging to the wisdom of God, I am benefited. I prosper. I am in a great place. Verse 23 says, guard your heart above all else, for it is the source of life. So what is in you, defend that. Guard it. The cross should define that. The cross should define your heart. But then, very interesting, is verse 24, which seems a little out of place. Don't let your mouth speak dishonestly, and don't let your lips speak deviously. Seems a little out of place, right? Because everything to this point has basically been what comes in, right? Guard the heart. Set your eyes on, so what comes into your eyes needs to be the cross, right? It's all kind of what's coming internal and what defines you internal. But what we see here is the external and the internal are intimately linked. Whatever comes out of you is what's in you. Does the cross come out of you? Do people know you for the cross? What does your Facebook feed look like? What does your Instagram feed look like? What do your conversations with family look like? Are you known for being a person of the cross or about anything else? If Jesus is not the overflow of your life, then what is inside of you? And if it's not Jesus, you have a problem. So then he continues on in 25. Let your eyes look forward, fix your gaze straight ahead, right? So he says, come back to this theme of take care of what's inside so that you can set your eyes on what's ahead. And then we have carefully consider the path of your feet, and all your ways will be established. Now, something I love about that verse in particular, it reads in Hebrew, it reads a lot like in the English, where it's this, not this idea of if you just kind of generically guard your feet, you will always go to good. What it says is, well, the idea here is wherever you put yourself, right? Whatever path you take, it will establish where you go. Think of this verse more like when you're traveling through like Baltimore. Our context is Baltimore, right? So it's like if you are in Baltimore and there's all the exits. And if you don't consider your way, you will end up on the wrong path. And that will take you somewhere you didn't want to go. So you need to consider your path, because whatever path you're on is the one you're on, and you will go there. Once you consider the path you're on, that's where it will inevitably lead you. And so it's this idea of, look, consider it. Think about it. Think about where you put your feet, because wherever you put your feet, that's where you're going to go. Another great illustration to this would be something like I love in movies and cartoons when they have all of the little moving walkways, right? And they all go different places. And you have to consider where your feet are, because inevitably, wherever that walkway is going is where you will go. So what walkway are you on? Are you on the cross or on your own walkway? And he finishes this idea with, don't turn to the right and don't turn to the left. Keep your feet away from evil, because if you put your feet in evil, you will go to evil. If you place your feet in Christ, you will go to Christ. So, the reason I wanted to look at this, particularly for our church's context, and this application, maybe you're not part of Hampstead Baptist Church locally. I'm still so thankful that you're listening, and I want this to be a benefit to you. So please hear what I'm saying to our own church. Our church is in a transition. Our senior pastor, Pastor Chris, is going to be retiring pretty shortly, within like a month and a half or so of filming this. And we as a church, how we proceed through the transition, the attitude that we take as we go through this transition will be very defining. The temptation in transition is to wander. Transition is a time where we feel that perhaps safeguards in your life, perhaps whatever, you're just not maintaining it, you're not setting your eyes as firm, it's pretty easy to wander in these times. And you can wander into sin. You can wander into anger. You can wander into bitterness. You can wander into so many things. Idolatry. So many things you can wander into. The key to transition, the key to this whole season, the key for us as a church, not just as we transition through pastors, but as we transition, even with COVID, even with whatever 2020 has become and is becoming, the key to transition is having a point of reference. And our point of reference must be the cross. So hold fast to the cross. Church, my church family, hold fast to Jesus. Hold fast to the cross. Don't let go of the cross. Don't give in to your fleshly desire. Don't give in to all of these things that you could chase. Don't give in to anger. Don't give in to bitterness. And don't give in to a depressed mourning, right? When I say depressed mourning, I mean this idea of woe is me. Wherever you're at in life, don't fall into the trap of yourself, but love the cross. Set your eyes on the cross. Pursue the cross in everything you do. And it will lead to, as the text says, it will lead to life for those who find it and health for the whole body. And I can't help but think of the body of Christ. We as a church will prosper. We will be with God if we all have our eyes set on Jesus, all have our eyes set on the cross, and all hunger and thirst for his righteousness so that we will be satisfied. So that's my encouragement to you. Cling to the cross. I know times are hard. I know times are uncertain, and I know things are trying. But don't lose sight of the cross. Cling to Jesus. He will guide us. He will direct us. And he will ultimately lead us to the amazing blessing of God. I hope you're having a great week. I hope that the Lord is blessing you. I hope that the Lord is doing amazing things in your lives. And I hope that you're being faithful to share the message of the cross that has hopefully so changed your life. And I pray that the Lord will not just give us opportunities, but that he will give us an Elisha type sense of his spirit, that we will supernaturally be constantly emboldened to share the message of the cross, because we know one day Jesus is returning and that day will be sweet. And we want all to experience that day the way we do, which is as those who are members of Christ's body. So thank you for joining me this week. Next week, we'll be over in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. We're going to have a couple weeks. We're going to talk about marriage. We're going to talk about sexuality. We're going to talk about singleness. We're going to talk about all of these things. So tune in next week, and we'll begin 1 Corinthians chapter 7. I hope you have a great day.